September 25th, 1980, John Bonham was found dead in Jimmy Page's house. He had choked on his own vomit after a drinking session. The greatest drummer in rock history was gone at 32 years old. But here's what makes it chilling. This wasn't the first tragedy to hit Led Zeppelin, and it wasn't the last, because 5 years earlier, Jimmy Page had done something that some believe unleashed a curse that would follow the band forever. He bought Aleister Crowley's mansion, a house with a history so dark that locals refused to go near it, a house where rituals were performed, where madness took hold, where people died. And from the moment Jimmy Page moved in, everything around Led Zeppelin started falling apart. Before we dive into this story, if you're enjoying this type of content, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I'm bringing you the darkest and most mysterious stories from rock history that you won't find anywhere else. Now let's talk about the curse. 1969, Led Zeppelin was on top of the world. Their debut album had just exploded. Jimmy Page was being called the greatest guitarist alive. Robert Plant's voice was legendary. John Bonham's drumming was unlike anything anyone had ever heard. And John Paul Jones held it all together with his bass and keyboards. They were untouchable. They were gods. But Jimmy Page had an obsession that went beyond music. He was fascinated by the occult, and not just casually interested. He was deep into it. He collected occult artifacts. He studied black magic. He read everything he could find about mysticism and dark rituals. And there was one name that obsessed him more than any other: Aleister Crowley, the man who called himself the wickedest man in the world. A man who performed sex magic rituals, who claimed to communicate with demons, who founded his own religion based on doing whatever you want without consequences. Crowley had died in 1947, but his legend lived on, and Jimmy Page wanted to own a piece of that legend. In 1970, Jimmy Page bought Boleskine House, a remote mansion on the shores of Loch Ness in Scotland. This wasn't just any house. This was Aleister Crowley's former home, the place where Crowley had performed his most dangerous ritual, the Abramelin operation, a 6-month ceremony designed to summon your guardian angel and gain magical powers. But something went wrong during Crowley's ritual. He never finished it. And according to occult belief, when you start a summoning ritual and don't complete it properly, you leave a door open. A door that lets things through, dark things. After Crowley left, Boleskine House became known for tragedies. A man who lived there went insane and tried to kill his children. Another owner died under mysterious circumstances. Workers refused to enter certain rooms. Locals said the house was cursed. And Jimmy Page moved right in. He filled the house with Crowley's belongings: original manuscripts, ritual tools, occult paintings. He even opened an occult bookshop in London called The Equinox, named after Crowley's magazine. Jimmy Page wasn't hiding his obsession, he was broadcasting it. And that's when things started to go wrong for Led Zeppelin. Really wrong. 1975, Led Zeppelin was at their absolute peak. Their album Physical Graffiti had just come out. They were selling out stadiums around the world. Robert Plant was on vacation in Greece with his family, taking a break from the madness. And then tragedy struck. Robert Plant was driving on a narrow road in Rhodes when his car crashed. His wife Maureen was seriously injured. His children were hurt. Robert's ankle was shattered. But the worst part, Maureen's injuries were so severe that she almost died. Robert Plant spent months in a wheelchair, unable to walk, unable to perform, watching his wife fight for her life. The band's momentum was destroyed. Tours were canceled. And some people started asking questions. Was this just an accident? Or was something else at play? 1975, Led Zeppelin was trying to recover. They released Presence, an album they recorded while Robert Plant was still recovering from the crash. They were back on tour, trying to reclaim what they'd lost. And then it happened again. While the band was in the middle of their U.S. tour, Robert Plant got a phone call. His 6-year-old son, Carrick, had died suddenly from a stomach infection. Just like that. A healthy child gone in hours. Robert Plant was destroyed. Absolutely destroyed. He left the tour immediately and flew back to England. The remaining shows were canceled. The band went on hiatus. And Robert Plant began to wonder if being in Led Zeppelin was worth the price his family was paying. Some of his friends started asking him a dark question. Was there a connection between his tragedies and Jimmy Page's obsession with the occult? Robert never spoke publicly about it, but the timing was impossible to ignore. Meanwhile, Jimmy Page was diving deeper into the darkness. He wasn't just collecting Crowley artifacts anymore. He was living the philosophy, "Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law." That was Crowley's core teaching. No rules, no limits, no consequences, and Jimmy Page took it seriously. His drug use spiraled out of control. Heroin became a daily thing. He became skeletal, hollow-eyed, barely able to function. But he kept pushing forward, kept recording, kept performing. And the darkness around the band kept growing. 1980, Led Zeppelin was trying to make a comeback. They released In Through the Outdoor, an album that showed they still had the magic. They were planning a major tour, things were looking up, and then came the rehearsal session at Jimmy Page's house. September 24th, John Bonham showed up and started drinking vodka. Lots of it. By the afternoon, he had consumed the equivalent of 40 shots of vodka. He passed out. The band put him to bed in one of the rooms. They thought he'd sleep it off. The next morning, Robert Plant's assistant went to check on him. John Bonham was dead. He had choked on his own vomit during the night. The greatest drummer in rock history was gone, and he died in Jimmy Page's house. The same house filled with occult artifacts. The same house where dark energy seemed to gather. Led Zeppelin ended that day. They couldn't continue without Bonham. They released a statement saying the band was over, but the curse wasn't finished. Over the years, more tragedies piled up. Members of the band's crew died in accidents. Relationships fell apart. Health problems emerged. And Boleskine House itself continued its dark legacy. In the years after Jimmy Page sold it, the house saw more tragedies. In 2015, it burned down under mysterious circumstances. Some said it was arson. Others said the house finally destroyed itself. Either way, the curse seemed to follow that place even after Led Zeppelin was gone. Now, here's where it gets even stranger. Jimmy Page has never really addressed the curse directly. In interviews, he deflects. He talks about Crowley as a misunderstood poet and philosopher. He downplays the occult stuff as just an interest, nothing serious. But the evidence is hard to ignore. After Boleskine House and after John Bonham's death, Jimmy Page slowly pulled away from the occult. He stopped talking about Crowley publicly. He closed his occult bookshop. He sold Boleskine House. It's like he realized something had gone wrong, like he'd opened a door he couldn't close. And the price was paid by everyone around him. So was Led Zeppelin cursed? You can believe it's all coincidence, bad luck, tragic accidents that could happen to anyone. Or you can look at the pattern. A guitarist obsessed with the occult buys the former home of the wickedest man in the world. He performs in a band that reaches impossible heights. And then, one by one, tragedy strikes the people closest to him. His bandmate's family is nearly killed in a car crash. His bandmate's child dies suddenly. His best friend and drummer dies in his house. And through it all, Jimmy Page survives, untouched, still here, still playing, still living with whatever he brought into his life when he walked through the doors of Boleskine House. The curse of Led Zeppelin isn't just about bad luck. It's about what happens when you invite darkness into your life and believe there are no consequences. Jimmy Page wanted the power that Aleister Crowley promised, the freedom, the magic, the ability to break every rule and come out on top. And maybe he got it, but the people around him paid the price. That's the real horror of this story. Not ghosts or demons or supernatural forces. It's the idea that one person's obsession can destroy everyone they love. And Jimmy Page is still here, still playing guitar, still refusing to fully answer the questions about what really happened during those dark years. The curse may be over. Or maybe it's just waiting. Either way, Led Zeppelin's legacy is forever tied to the darkness that Jimmy Page invited in. And that darkness never fully goes away. If you want to see more stories like this, turn on notifications so you don't miss the next video. And check out my video on the 27 Club Curse, another dark mystery from rock history that will leave you questioning everything. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.